Hey everyone, so I'm here to discuss with you how to pencil in your brows and how to sort of get the best shape and the best frame you can using pencil. I will go through two of my favorite pencils. So one of them is a little bit thicker. The thicker pencils are usually better to sort of create more texture. So if you already have a lot of hair there and you sort of just want to fill them through a bit more and make them look a bit thicker, the thicker pencils are a lot better. The thinner pencils are better for creating hair stroke-like sort of hair stroke lines. That's a lot better if your brows are more sparse or if you don't have that many hairs there. I'll show you, for example, how thin my thin pencil is. So that's roughly how thin it is. It is quite thin and it will sort of mimic the strokes of the hair when you do apply that to the brow area. The thicker pencil I have looks like this one, and it is quite thick. And it's quite good if you do want to sort of get that texture, especially through that sort of section where it's quite thin and quite sparse. Usually the tails are the first areas to sort of thinning out as you sort of age or as your body goes through different hormonal stages in your life. And also the different sort of hormonal stages will impact that growth through the front as well. Usually the front section is sort of the first to get a little sparse. So you can see on that side, that's where it's sort of thinning out a little bit first, but that side's quite okay, which is good. So I will go through what you need to do first. First of all, it's important that the area is cleansed, making sure that it's free of any oil or free of any previous makeup that you had on, just because when you do apply the pencil, you do want it to sort of go on really smoothly and to stay on the skin. If there are any natural like skin oils or previous makeup on your face in that area, the pencil won't really sit correctly in that sort of frame. It will sort of move during the day and it just won't look good. You'll have to reapply it a few times and it'll just get really annoying. First of all, what I normally like to do is I like to sort of brush through the brow area just to sort of get that brow nice and sort of even and all the hairs sort of growing in one direction. If you do like the front ones to sort of go up a little bit, that's fine, brush them that way. There's no harm in doing that, but for sort of my brow, I really like to have them more sideways. First of all, I usually start through the arch there. So I will sort of pencil through, just through that top section, very lightly and very naturally, just so you get that nice straight line through the top, so it can sort of look very defined. Then we go to the tail and we sort of go a little bit more heavier on the tail. That will sort of get that tail section a bit more defined and make it look a little bit more thicker than what it normally is. And you can sort of drag it down quite far, just so it can sort of give you a bit more depth to the shape. So you can see how that looks a lot better than the other side. It's a lot more defined, there's a bit more shape, you can see that soft arch through there, and the tail looks pretty good as well. It doesn't look as sparse as before. And that's our main goal when penciling brows, to get that consistency pretty, even throughout the whole brow. So we want to start from the front. So if you do sort of have a lot of sparse area through the front, now is the time to sort of work on the front area. So what I'd sort of do is, I usually try to follow the direction of the hair growth. So through the front, we just sort of want to go more upwards like that when when penciling in. That will sort of give you a more natural look. But because my brows are quite full in that area, I avoid sort of penciling in too much because it can look a bit too drawn on if you do overdo it. We'll jump to the other side now. With this side, we'll start from the tops again through that arch area, just to sort of get it nice and even. I like to really start from this section of the brow, just so you can sort of see where the maximum point of the brow will be. That way you don't pencil too much underneath or on top. And you sort of know when the tail will sort of go a bit more downwards, just like that. And then you always brush as you go, just to create that nice texture and nice consistency through them. And with the tail, it's always important to brush the hairs down. If you do brush them up, it will just look a little bit too messy. And just a little bit more through there. You can use a darker colour on the tails as well. That will sort of give it a bit more definition just on the ends, just because they are a little bit more sparse in that area. So it's no harm in sort of using a little bit of a darker pencil on the ends there. Now, like I said before, we will use that sort of hair stroke motion in the front there, just to make it look very natural. And that already looks a little bit more fuller, which is good. So perfect. And you can just do a little bit more through the top there. Okay, that looks awesome. So they look quite even now, which is good, which was what we're aiming for. But no matter how much work you put into doing your brows or anything, they will never be 100% symmetrical, just because there's different sort of aspects of the brow that does make it sort of non-symmetrical. Like, for example, one brow bone might sit a little bit higher than the other one, and one brow bone might be a little bit wider or shorter. No matter what you do, there's always going to be some variation in the shape. I will sort of show you the thinner pencil as well, just so you have an idea of how to use that. With the thinner one, it's important to always go in the direction of the hair growth. If you try and block fill it in, it will look drawn on way too much and it will just look terrible. So especially with the front hairs, it's really important that you sort of do an upward sort of motion. As you sort of reach these hairs up here, it's important to sort of go more downward in that sort of direction, and then the tail ones in a downward motion that sort of curve downwards. Same as on the other side. So we're just going to go upwards like that. Then these hairs here, pretty much all through the top, they go downwards. So you sort of do a downward motion. Underneath as well, they sort of go more sideways. So you're going to go more sideways with the underneath ones. And then the tail again, you're just going to go in that downwards motion. And then always remember to brush off at the end, just to get that even consistency and make them look very nice and smooth, as you don't want them to sort of look too drawn on. Next step to penciling your brows is to use a good quality gel. The brow gels are really good because they sort of seal in all that colour. They also help any sort of longer stray hairs. They will sort of keep them in place, make sure they sit right. And the good thing about the brow gel is that if you like your hair to sort of stick more upwards, then you can do that with that. That's totally fine. Or if you want it to sit more sideways like my brows, then that's totally fine. I'll pop that on and show you how to use it. So you just pretty much brush through, just very lightly. You don't need too much, as it's just pretty much setting the top layer of hair. Same as on the other side. And that will also help seal the colour in. The colour will not move. It will just sort of stay there in place for a whole day or until you wash it off, which is great. Also with the brow gel, it will come off with water unless you get a waterproof one. So be mindful of that. If you do go swimming or anything, it will pretty much come off. The pencil is important to get waterproof as well. Make sure that you do get one, especially if you do go swimming a lot, or you're at the gym and you sweat a lot. It will just save you a lot of time rather than putting it on 10 times a day or all of that. So it's pretty important to get a waterproof pencil. Next video I will discuss how to powder in your brows. There are sort of different techniques to doing that. You can even blend the two. You can use some pencil or powder to sort of get a different effect or different sort of look with the brows. I will discuss that next video, so keep tuned into that. Otherwise, if you have any questions about penciling in brows or want me to sort of guide you on how to do it, send photos through to my email of your brows and I'll email you back suggesting the best techniques and the best sort of method in doing so. Thanks so much guys for watching. Looking forward to making my next video.